Hey, War Dolls, we're your hosts, Cami and Steph, and we're back with another episode of the War Dolls podcast.
Today, we have a very special episode for you all. We asked you, the viewers, for burning questions that we're going to answer here tonight. Let's do this. So, our first question comes from our fellow war doll, Darcy. She asks, how did you first get started and introduced to your favorite hobby, and when did you realize your passion for it? Cami, do you want to start it off?
Sure. I started with I started with the red box D&D set. My cousin showed it to me one time. I think we were 13 years old. Um, all the funny little shaped dice and the book with the art, and just it was brilliant. It was a world that I had never seen before, and I absolutely loved it. And he did not. We did not play it again. He gave it to me later, several years down the line. I never really understood where to, because, again, this is way before the internet. Um, it wasn't until high school, 10th grade, some guy standing in my chemistry lab turned to me and said, "Do you play D&D?" And I was like, "I have." And he was like, "Do you want to come over and play?" Again, this is a total stranger, some guy I knew, that I don't even think I knew his name at the time. And but that's just how Bill was. So yeah, I went over there and started playing D&D with these guys. We all took turns being the DM, and we just had the best time. We built a little group of our own all through high school and a little bit beyond, and had the most wonderful adventures together. um, about that time is when I met Shayna and my friend Sean, and he and I got into BattleTech together, and then we got into Warhammer 40K together. Fast forward 29 years, and I got into Star Wars Legion, um, and and just all kinds of adventures along the way. And as far as my passion, when I realized my passion was sitting in the room with those boys, realizing that we had a world that we could describe as our own, and multiple worlds, because we tried all kinds of games. We played Vampire the Masquerade, we played Shadowrun, we played Cyberpunk, um, all the World of Darkness stuff. We tried everything. We wrote a game. We started writing our own game, um, which I'm still working on to this day. So yeah, that was probably when I found my passion. What about you, Steph?
So mine started when me and my now husband started dating. The first game that he introduced me to was Marvel Legendary, which is a deck building game. Um,
I'm
I,
familiar.
beyond like my world of games growing up was like Monopoly and Life and all those basic board games that you find on every store shelf everywhere.
Yeah, I
Um,
think
I
everybody's had a little bit of that.
I knew nothing about deck building or tabletop wargaming or cooperative games. It was always competitive and family games, and I my eyes were opened up to this entire new world by playing Marvel Legendary, and I still love that game to this day. I wish we played it more, but it's so time consuming to set up because we have so many expansions of it that it it's like analysis paralysis every time we try to set up a game, right? So that was like my gateway into the games that we play now. And then he slowly introduced me to the tabletop wargaming with Star Wars Imperial Assault. And then it was Star Wars Legion, and then we got more into Marvel Crisis Protocol, and that's really where I found my passion was Marvel Crisis Protocol. Like, I love Star Wars and I love Star Wars Imperial Assault. Um but then when we moved into Star Wars Legion, I was like, this is really cool, but it's such a large play space. And then we found Marvel Crisis Protocol and it cut that play space in half. And I love the 3x3. It's not a huge table where you're spending 2 turns just moving to get to the point where you can actually start attacking each other. It's, you spend 1 turn moving and getting objectives and scoring points, and then you get into like the big battles of fighting each other. And that's really the one game that I'm now super passionate about. And we love hosting events and we love streaming our events, and that's kind of where my niche is right now, is with Marvel Crisis Protocol. So it's kind of evolved over the last few years from the deck building games, learning the Star Wars mini games, and then finding that passion with Marvel Crisis Protocol.
That's fantastic. So, question 2 comes from fellow Wordall Mukachu61. And she says, if you had to start from zero, what tool other than brushes or paint would you get right away to restart your setup for painting figures?
I would probably have to say 2 things. I would get my wet palette going sooner than I did, because when I started painting, I was putting paint on a paper plate, and my paint would dry so quickly that I was probably using more paint than I needed to. So I would get the wet palette. And the other thing I would get right away is a paint organizer, because my brain loves to see all the paints organized in that pretty rainbow where
Mm-hmm.
I know where the color is that I want, and I know where in the rainbow to find it. So that's how I have my paints organized now. And if I didn't have to dig through a cardboard box full of paints, it would make my life so much easier.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think that might be high on my list. But I think the first, I don't know, because I did have a bit of a different start. I still don't use a wet palette. I tried it, wasn't wasn't
You
for me.
don't?
I don't. I never liked it. It's just too
What do you
much
use?
maintenance. A ceramic tile. Basically, I think it's a glass palette is what they're called. What they call it.
Oh,
I used a just a slab of wood for the longest time, um, but especially with speed paints now, because
mm,
they're a lot runnier,
yeah.
they will dry up on the board. There's so much paint on my board now that it will not dry. But but especially with speed paints, I gotta use that ceramic tile.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I
Um,
definitely don't put speed paints on my wet palette.
yeah, you can't do it on a wet palette. You can't do it on a porous surface. So that
Nope.
ceramic tile, or if you have some glass, is perfect. But I did start with that um, wooden board because when I went to start painting on my desk, my father brought in this piece of wood that he had. He was a carpenter, so he said threw it on my desk and was like, paint on this. I think if I had to start over, I would have the internet. I'm not even joking because I had no idea what. I was doing. Most of my tips came from comment, just trial and error, um, and the occasional um, fellow game nerd that would come through the store where I worked. But
Mhm.
even then, like some of their advice didn't work. Um, when because it was tradition, everybody brought their mini up to Mrs. Patton, who ran the store, and you had to show it to her to get her approval. And of course, the
Aw.
first thing she did was turn it over and say it's not done because the bottom's not painted. Um,
Who paints
and
the bottom?
exactly, exactly. But I was in there showing her something, and one of the older the historical gamers came in, and she said, "What would you tell her? As a to get better?" And he said, "You need a wash." And of course, GW paints were few and far between at the time. So we didn't have any pre-bottled washes. We had to make our own. And he told me how to make a wash. And I said, "That's not going to work." And he said, "Trust me." And I said, "Okay." So I went home and I mixed the water and I mixed the paint together. And just like I predicted, all of my oil paint floated to the top of the water
Oh, no.
because he didn't know I was using enamels. And I didn't
Mm.
know that, he meant acrylics. So it took a while for me to get a lot of that knowledge absorbed, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and if I'd had the internet, it would have been so much easier and so much faster. The painting style that I have, that I use, I adhere to, is stuff that I have just done, over all these years. I have, once I had the internet, I did try a lot of those things. I tried a wet
Mhm.
palette, wasn't for me. I tried Zenithal when it came out. That's just too many steps. I prime my stuff on the sprue before I put it together. So to do Zenithal, I have to prime it, assemble it, and then go back out and prime it again. So I never did that. I can't go back and undo all those things. I mean, I could train myself, but I paint in at a speed I am comfortable with. So I do it the
I
way I
have
do it.
never tried priming while it's still on the spruce, so I have a question about that.
Oh yeah.
If you prime it while it's on the sprue and you get primer on the area that you're going to be gluing, does it still stick?
Most of the time, yes. It depends on the primer you use and how much you use. But if it ever gets to where, because the glue will kind of reactivate it a little bit and it'll get,
Mm.
just slippery.
Yeah.
All you have to do is take your hobby knife and scratch it a little bit,
Okay.
and make the surface rough, and it'll
Mhm.
glue together like nobody's business.
Hmm. Interesting. I might have to try that sometime.
I hate those nooks and crannies that don't get
Yeah.
painted. I know
Yeah.
you can't see them, but I know they're there.
Right? Like, I was working on Elsa Bloodstone last week, and I kept looking up underneath her cape where,
Hmm.
a normal angle of looking at her, you don't see her from the bottom up. So you're never going to see up underneath her cape. But I knew there was an area up there that was not painted.
Yeah, yeah,
But there was no way I was going to be able to get my paintbrush into those nooks and crannies and make it look like anything. So I know it's there, but just looking at her, unless you turn her upside down, you will not see it.
Well, if you went to the hobby store I worked at in my youth, that's exactly what would have happened. I get a lot of that with 3D prints. You know,
Mhm.
those cloaks you can't paint under. So it's a little frustrating. I
Yeah.
opened. There's a new HeroScape model that came out, and because they're unpainted now, or you can get the
Mhm.
painted. There's an option to buy painted, but
Hmm.
it's a little. He's got a little blimp, and he's in the basket underneath it, and it's all one piece. And I'm like, how am I going to paint this guy? He's in a basket under a blimp. So,
Mm.
but yeah, it should be fun. Should be fun.
Yeah. All right, so question 3 comes from fellow Wardall Eris. They said, "What are some of your favorite paints? Either because you use them all the time, or they're just so cool, or the perfect color that you want to use all the time."
What a perfectly timed question.
I
I
know.
just got the P3 Kickstarter um, basic set, and um, I loved the P3 paints back when they were making them, but the absolute worst pots ever made, worse than GW pots. You would open them once or twice, and then the little tab would break off, and it was all over. So um, they did a Kickstarter. They're now available in droppers, and I just did a little comparison, you know, for the best white, and it slightly beat out Army Painter Fanatic for the best white. But my absolute favorite paint of all time, and it's purely for nostalgic reasons, is Poly S Fantasy Colors. It was an acrylic line, if I remember right, that was made by a train, hobby train paint manufacturer. They mostly did like enamel, but they did a acrylic line. The color names were absolutely the best: burnt aluminum, demon deep red, ogre flesh, you know, and they came in little
Mhm.
glass jars.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, they were little glass pots, and they were utterly delightful. And I loved reusing those little jars for different things because they're so cute because they're tiny little jars.
Oh.
So I still have a few left. I still somebody found some on the internet and bought them for me a few years back, and I've been nursing them along. They're still good colors. They're
Mhm.
not the high pigment that you see in what we've got now, but but for the time they were perfect. So, what about you? What is your favorite?
So, currently my favorite, it's a toss up between 2 brands. So, for everyday paint colors, I have to go with Monument Hobbies Pro Acryl. I absolutely love the dropper bottles that have the twist top to
You
open
like
and
this?
close.
You
I
like that twist
do.
top? I will
I
leave that
do.
open. I know I'm going to leave that open. When
I love it.
I tried it out the other night, and I was like, I'm going to leave this open and dry my paint out completely.
I love the twist tops. Um, I love how thin the paint is because I do not have to guess how much to thin my paint because guess what? It's already thinned
Hmm.
and it's drop and use. I don't have to do anything to it. It is great coverage. It is great pigment. And as soon as I discovered it at Adepticon this year, my life changed.
It's a good paint. The comparison I did Thursday was between it, Army Painter, and
Mhm.
P3, and it blew them away.
Yeah,
I hate to admit it, but it's a good paint.
it is a good
But
paint.
that
My
that
other
twist.
favorite,
Go ahead. Sorry.
m- you're good. My other favorite, just because it's so sparkly and vibrant and cool, is Turbo Dork. I love adding Turbo Dork to stuff.
Those are cool. I've only got the one, and I'm still trying to figure out where to use it perfectly, but it's like a color shift. It is really
Yeah,
cool. Yeah, they're really neat.
I I have at least 10 different colors because I bought a starter set at Adepticon this year, and I have slowly been finding places to add accents of Turbo Dork to. I've got a Marvel Crisis Protocol terrain set that I'm currently adding their Miami sunset to. And my husband finally decided to try using it. And we put the color, I love the name of this. The color is called Ground is Lava. Because, you know, we
I
all
love
played that
it.
game as a kid.
Yes. Oh, that's perfect.
We put Ground is Lava on our crab droids for
Oh,
Legion.
I love it.
It turned
Now
out
I
so good.
Okay, now I have to
So
try
good.
it.
It's so good.
That's great. All right. So, question 4 from fellow Wardell Sparrow. How has your involvement in hobbies changed to you?
It's brought out the creativity side in me again. I originally, when I was in college, I originally started out in college going for interior design because I loved the creativity side of designing something and picking colors and picking different angles and shapes and stuff to design with. And then my major changed and I went for something completely different. But that's a whole nother story. We won't get into that. But it's brought out the creativity in me again because I'm picking color schemes and I'm trying to decide like where to put shadows and lighting and that kind of stuff. Like it's brought out that creativity in me again.
That's great. That's good. That's good.
What about you, Cami?
A lot of ways. I think the most significant change in my life has been learning how to interact with people.
Hmm.
Um, now we know it's autism. But at the time, I just did not know how to talk to people. I didn't know how to socialize with people. I didn't know how to uh, function as a human. It felt like, and here in the with role playing games, I was in a different world. I knew how to interact with that world. I knew how to function in that world, and that being around those people that I played with, I was able to learn how to interact with them, and through that, further interact with society. And then,
Hmm.
math skills got improved, curiosity into things. Reading something in a module, reading something in a game. How does that work? Where does that come from? Just I was more interested in learning about how things worked, um,
Hmm.
and then started learning about the theories behind the games and where they came from and who made them. So, and I would not be anywhere near the person I am today without gaming and hobbying and the friends that I've found on the way. I know that sounds, that's the punchline, but that has been the that's me winning is all the friends I've
Right.
made on the way.
Oh, same. I've made so many friends doing this. You know, I met you, Cami. I
You.
met at Adepticon doing this. Like
Yeah.
all the friends that I've made is just unreal. All right, so question number 5. What was the gateway model to your painting journey? The first one you can remember, and what about it made you want to continue painting?
It was a little it was a D&D mini, Grenadier, I think, two-handed axeman. Um and he made a lead, of course. Um and he was painted in enamel. And that, because that was basically an error, more or less, because he was painted in oil enamels testers, and it was a lesson learned that um, most it does. I could have continued with doing enamels, but
Hmm.
the acrylics were more common. Everybody used those. They dry easier. Just there are so many reasons to switch over, and I learned that by painting this guy wrong, basically. I
Hmm.
know I say it a lot, there's no wrong way to hobby, but for me, that was not the journey that I was supposed to be on.
Hmm.
So I wanted to do it right. So I started with acrylic. I went out and bought some acrylics, and I think the orcs were my next one. I had some little orcs, and I painted them up and for D&D, and it just kept going from there.
Awesome.
What
So
about you?
my first model that I ever painted was a gonk droid from Star Wars Shatterpoint,
Mm-hmm.
because we were playing in the gonk droid racing event at Adepticon. I think that was 2024.
It was
Yeah, it
it
wasn't.
was last
It was.
year.
It was last year. Yep.
Mm-hmm. It was when we
Um,
met.
it was. It was the year we met, and so we wanted to do custom gonks for this gonk droid racing event. And my husband told me, he's like, if we're gonna do custom gonks, you have to paint your own gonk droid. I'm like, ugh, I don't want to. Like, you're such a better painter. I'm not gonna make this thing look good. But he kept encouraging me to do it myself. So I sat down one night, I picked out different colors that I wanted to use, and I just started going at it, and it turned out pretty decent. Like, I was pretty happy with it. And then at the end of it, I told him, I was like, you know what? I'm never painting another model again in my life. This is going to be a one and done thing. I'm never doing that again. And then as soon as we got home from Adepticon, I had picked up a couple other models just randomly at the show, and I brought them home, and I'm like, you know what? I want to paint these, and I want to play with how to paint and start learning. So by painting that gonk droid on my own and then bringing home other models, it kind of inspired me to continue learning how to paint models and get better.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's the goal. To want
Mhm.
to do it bigger and better and improve.
Yep.
So I mean, that's I think that's the motivation for a lot of us.
Mhm.
So next question. Um, if you could have one superpower, what would it be and why?
This is an easy one for me. My superpower would be to teleport anywhere I wanted to go. It would save so much cost on traveling.
Right? Teleporting is a good power.
Tele just teleporting. I want to go to a beach. If I want to go to a convention that is halfway across the world and still sleep in my own bed, I could. And that would be fantastic.
That is a good power. I think teleporting is probably up there.
What about you?
I always wanted invisibility, but I think the reasons for that were sad. Um,
Yeah.
but I also really loved Shadowcat and the ability to phase through matter.
Mm,
That
Mm,
I think is my absolute favorite power. Just the ability to become, intangible and
yeah.
walk through walls. Just love that ability. Just if I don't want to be here, I want to be there, and walls aren't going to stop me.
Nothing can stop you.
Oh, you're thank you. No power in
Question
the
number
verse.
s- Question number 7 comes from fellow Wardall flag captain. What has brought you the most joy in this process of organizing and running this group and podcast?
The friends, hands down.
Agreed.
The people that I've met, um, yourself especially,
Aw.
um, all the people that I meet along the way makes it all worth it. Um, just and seeing all of you become friends with one another, seeing the connections that we make, that you all make, the support that you've given one another, it's worth every bit of effort I've put into this. Makes it all worth it.
It does. And I honestly, I can't even say it any better than what Cami just did. Like seeing everyone become friends and the support that everyone gives and knowing that there's a group of people out there that is willing to answer questions and let us vent and just be there with no judgment, no hesitation, and I couldn't ask for a better community to be part of.
Now I'm gonna start crying again.
Don't
Thank
do
you.
that.
Like, no, that's what it's all for. That's
Yeah,
the community is
it's
it's
everything.
everything. It's everything. So we have a follow up question from Flag Captain. What is your favorite memory of your podcast co host?
Oh, so Miss Cami over here. She okay, my first memory of her was at a Adepticon 2024. It is Sunday. It's the last day. I'm walking around in my Mandalorian shirt outfit that I have because I call it semi cosplaying for our team events that me and my husband do. Like we don't full out cosplay. We just do like a semi dress up to match our theme that we're doing.
It was so
And
cute.
I'm walking to the bathrooms and she stops me and she's like, "I love your outfit." And I'm like,
It's
"Thank you." Like I loved the compliment. And then later in the day, we're standing at one of the Legion team tables with our Mandalorian display board out on display for everyone to see. And she comes up to me, she's like, "I didn't know you played Legion." And so we just got talking, and she starts handing me cards and buttons and stickers. And I'm like, "Yes, I love swag." And she's like, "You should join our group." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, she's so nice. Like, I love this. I love her." Like, not very many women came up, like, ever really come up to me during the weekend. And I was just so excited to have that female interaction and someone to get excited about, what they're doing and what I'm doing. And it was just the highlight of that whole weekend for me.
I don't think we get in each other's faces enough. I think
Yeah.
we I think a side effect of, and this is kind of I'm going on a tangent here, but I think a side effect of us being in these hobbies that are not very populated by women
Mhm.
is that we form our own little bubbles, and we don't let our bubbles touch. And I think we need to more
Mhm.
than we do. And maybe that's the autism talking, where I don't know how to interact with other people. Um, but I see, when I see what I like, I go after it. That's just kind of.
And that's good, and that's what I need to get better at
Well, you're pretty good at
because
it, because I think my favorite memory of you is when I mentioned this podcast, and you're like, you latched on like a little chihuahua, and you're like, let's do this, let's do this. And I'm like, I don't know how to get out of this now. So here we are, double digit episodes
we're
now. And
not letting you quit this now.
I love it. No, I love this energy in you. I love that you keep me focused, and you keep me on task, and um because I'm so easily distracted by shiny things, and you're just like, we're going to do this. And you know uh I adore every bit of that, and thank you, like, so much,
Oh,
because I would easily get distracted and be like, I'm going to go do this now. So here we are, and
here we
we
are.
yes.
That's so great. I love it. All right. Question number 9, again from Flag Captain. They submitted lots of questions, which I love.
Hmm.
How has the War Dolls, or the process thereof, grown you?
Oof. So the Wardall started as a blog. There were four of us just playing Warhammer. I think one girl only played on, oh, what was that app? Not I want to say Fumble. That's the one for Blood Bowl. But there was an app where it was just like 2D, um, and people played Warhammer on it all the time. It drove me crazy, because there were people that were like, air quote, experts in Warhammer, and they only ever played on a virtual table that was two dimensional. And I'm like, there's a lot missing there. But anyway, like, we all started blogging together. I think we all had blogs, and we just kind of combined them, and we did that for several years. Then I started playing at Gigabytes Cafe in Atlanta. David, you owe me for the plug. But there were a lot of girls there, and we started hanging out. And even though we played different games, there were a lot of us that played Warhammer. But we all just hung out, and just kind of got to know one another, and it went well. And but we kind of started drifting apart, and then um, we moved to Mississippi, and it kind of died down. And I started doing it online again. And one of the game store co-owners heard about it, and she started hyping us up. And it just kind of started blossoming back up. I got a Discord. I started dragging people in there against their will sometimes, and did the Facebook group. And here we are. And we are bigger and better and stronger than ever. And through all of that, I found that I can do things. I can follow through. I found my follow through. I found courage. I never ever would have thought that I could have done a podcast. So I never thought I could have so many friends. I never thought that I could see this blossom into what it's become so far, and where it can go. And I love every bit of it.
That's awesome.
What about you?
So so the thing that has made, like, that I've grown with so far because I'm still pretty new. I've only been a war doll for like almost a year and a half. Um, it has it has brought me out of my shell so much. I I am a certified introvert, and it has pushed me out of my comfort zone, and it has forced me to bring out that extrovert in me that has been buried deep inside for my entire life, and I'm forcing myself to go and talk to people, whether it's I mean the in-person interaction is the scariest part.
It is.
But I'm also in recruiting at Adepticon or at a local game store or wherever I'm at. I have to force myself to go and have those conversations with random people that I see that I'm like, ooh, I think they'd be a good fit for our
Mm-hmm.
community.
Mm-hmm.
And doing the podcast has also pushed me out of my comfort zone with trying to be animated and exciting and entertaining, and I never thought I could do that. I always thought it sounded fun, and then when you started talking about it and we started brainstorming what we were going to do, I was like, this is going to be so much fun. Like, let's just try it and see what we can do. And all of that has really helped me get out of my shell and be more extroverted and more um just being out there and talking to people, and I never ever thought that that would be me,
And here you are.
and here I am.
Yeah. Yeah, that talking to people thing is really tough. The stickers,
Mhm.
I learned that the stickers are the best way to do it.
Yeah, the stickers, the buttons, the cards, like if you have something to hand them and to
Yes.
make them excited that you're giving them something, like they get so excited for it, and I love it.
That was my trick. I would roll up to somebody and hand them a sticker and they're like, "Oh, what's this about?" And I'm like, "Oh, let me tell you."
Yeah.
So, yes, I am painfully introverted as well. But that sticker is such a good icebreaker. So, look for our stickers.
All right, Cami, I have a bonus question for you.
Let's do it.
This question came from my stepdaughter Rosie. She wants to know, who is your favorite My Little Pony character and why?
Twilight Sparkle. I
But
can't.
no hesitation at all.
Um, I played the when there was a collectible card game um that came out for ponies. I never was a really big fan of ponies uh growing up because I I'm old. When by the time there was like animated stuff and
Mhm.
the new stuff, I was already a parent, a step parent. So I had I got to
Mhm.
watch it from above. But when that collectible card game came out, we went all in, all in. It was bad. But I found Twilight Sparkle and she found me. And, she's the librarian,
Mhm.
and I worked at a library and I'm like, oh, this is my girl. So, and her colors, perfect colors. Some of her game abilities were fantastic. I was all about her. So yeah, she's and then we got My Little Pony Monopoly one year, and
Oh,
she's in there, and I'm like, let's roll, girl. So yeah, like I loved everything about her. So what about
that's
you? What's
amazing.
your pony?
So my favorite pony, for sentimental reasons, is Rainbow Dash.
Oh
Um,
yes.
I only say that because when Rosie was little, she had a Rainbow Dash plush toy that went everywhere with her. And so every time I hear Rainbow Dash, I see Rainbow Dash, I immediately think of Rosie.
Perfect. Perfect.
And for Christmas, Rosie got the My Little Pony role playing game book.
Okay.
Um, and so she is going to put together a role playing event for us this summer while they're here for half of summer with us. They just came over, so we're making plans for the next month with them. And so she's going to do a campaign with us on the My Little Pony
Oh, that
role
sounds
playing game.
awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
The Word Alls is a community of geeky girls that are here to support and inspire one another. We can be found at thewordalls.com. We're also at The Word Alls on Facebook, Instagram, and Blue Sky. We have a Discord, and you can find the links for that in our Instagram page.
And if you're interested in checking out the community, again, join us over on Discord where you can chat and hang out with us every Thursday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time during our voice chat hobby hang.
And as always, if you have more questions for us, or if you want to suggest guests or ideas that we can discuss, give us an email at thewardalls@gmail.com or hit us up on an instant message on one of those platforms.
Support each other and be kind.
And we cry a lot.